Book a keeper, or hi gang. This is the first real technical week of autumn, and so I'm mulching around my strawberries to try and give them a little bit of protection for winter. I'm just using more of my shredded cardboard, but that is not the only thing I'm doing this week. I'll be making some slice from our peaches. I will be planting up some bulbs, and we'll do some propagating, I think.
Bok, I'm Mandy O. This is Grow, Make, Cook, and welcome to my garden. I grew up in Australia in a permaculture family, but after we got married, Mr. O and I moved here to his home country of Croatia. I am a passionate and hands-on homemaker and gardener, and I love life's simple pleasures. So join me on my journey, and together we can learn to grow, make, and cook. This is the 4th week in September, or Ruyan.
These are looking fantastic. These are the cuttings I took of those little mums, and I think I can see signs of new growth. So it's probably time, I can see the occasional root at the bottom as well. So it's probably time to pot these on. Wonderful. So these have definitely struck. They've got little roots on them. So what I'm going to do is pop all 4 of them into individual pots. So I'm just going to put a little tile or a crock or a broken piece of pot in the bottom. And then I'm going to take some of this compost. And they'll live in these pots for the entirety of winter under a little bit of cover, so that come spring I can plant them out. And now that I've taken my other cuttings out of my plastic propagating box, I can now do a little bit of a test. I have been told by a friend that you can actually propagate this beautiful sedum that I got given as a gift a couple of years back. But I got told that you can propagate it by leaf cuttings, and I've never done any kind of leaf cutting before. So I've just got my nice loose compost, and I'm going to pop it into this box the same as I did before. Alright, that looks great. Set that down there. And then, according to my friend, all you need to do is pick a nice healthy looking leaf. So this one's pretty good. Then cut right against the stem with a very sharp knife. Just take it off so that you've got a little bit of the stem on it, like that. And then just pop it straight into the compost. It seems too simple and too good to be true, really, but just pop him in like that. And I'll do a few more, because if this works, I'm going to get a whole lot of free sedums. Here's hoping. I mean, I'm not going to damage the plant terribly by doing this, so we just take a few and see if it works. One thing that has been absolutely delightful, and I'm really thankful for, is our harvest of our white peaches. Now, these are, they've ripened up really because we did all that pruning and they've had a bit more sunshine, but they are the very last of our summer crops, and so I think I'm going to stew them up, and we might make a breakfast bar. My peach sauce that I use as the base for my breakfast bar slice is really simple. The first thing I'm going to do is just chop, peel, and cook in only about a tablespoon of water in a big pot, and just throw all of the flesh of the peaches in. Cook it up until it turns pulpy, thick, like something more like applesauce or pear sauce. A nice thick consistency, but without any big lumps or bumps. And then we'll be ready to make our slice. Okay, now that I have stewed up and cooked up my peaches, they're all done and it's lovely and saucy, it's time to get onto our slice. the first thing I'm going to do is use 1 sheet of, this is bio gelatin, which means that it's organic, but it's also from vegetable structures. So however you use gelatin in other baking recipes like cheesecake, 1 regular serve, which is 1 sheet. I know that they also come in like powders. And I've got a cup of apple juice. You can use a lot of other types of juice, and I'm just going to quickly pop this in the microwave in order to zap it to make it stick together. But, you know, however you usually cook that together, so lots of people would prefer to do that on the stove. I'm just going to microwave it quickly. Now that my gelatin has completely dissolved and my apple juice is really quite hot, I'm popping in my cornflakes, which I have 1.5 cups, and a cup of quick oats. So they're the fine ones. People often call them instant oats, but chuck all that in, not leaving any out. And then I'm going to add a cup of coconut meal. So that goes in, and I've got 1/2 cup of sultanas or grozdjice as well. I've got 1/2 cup of rolled oats, and this will add texture. So the fine oats, the quick oats, kind of act like the glue in this recipe, and these ones really just add a little bit of oaty texture. So that's why it's only 1/2 cup. And I've got 1 cup of my delightful peach sauce. Now, if you don't have peaches, or you don't particularly like peaches, you could use applesauce or pear sauce, or just about any stewed fruit will do the job, really. So I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and a cup of chopped almonds. Now I'm using almonds, but you could use crushed peanuts, or you could use chopped walnuts, anything that gives you the texture and flavour you like and is nice and nutty. I'm then giving all of this a good mix together, and then I'm going to crack an egg in. Give it a nice thorough mix up, combining really well. Then I'm just going to press it into my tray it's got some baking paper in it, and then I'm going to bake in the oven until it's golden. Now, that will vary greatly on the size of your tray. So I've got quite a large tray compared to the volume that this makes, but if you don't have a tray that's at least 2 hands long, you know, if you've got something quite a bit smaller, it'll be deeper and it'll take longer to bake. So I set my oven to about 180 degrees Celsius, which is somewhere a bit more than, I think, about 350 Fahrenheit, and just bake until it's golden. Just give him a good press in so it covers the entire bottom of the pan, and you want to make it firm so it all sticks together, otherwise it might crumble apart a bit. Once I get this pretty smooth, I'm just going to pop it in the oven. And after an hour in the oven, and a half hour just letting it cool, it's finally cool enough to handle, and we'll slice a bit off and try it. Yeah. Good. Wholesome. Certainly not very sweet. It's muesli, but in a slice.
This is a bit of an exciting time of year. A little bit nerve-wracking, but also exciting. Traditionally now, for this area,
is the time you would start planting spring bulbs. Now I say traditionally with a great big weight on it here, and that is because when we first moved here, our winters were hard and we had a couple of foot of snow at the worst, and at usual about a foot, just enough to fall into my gumboots, which means that the winters were long, cold, and started quite quickly. However, last year and the year before, we had winters that had maybe an inch, maybe 2 of snow, so it was almost negligible and generally gone within a week. And so if we have a normal winter, if we have the kind of winter where we get another foot of snow and it's beautiful, then I need to be planting these bulbs now. But if we have a winter like last year and, you know, the cold doesn't set in till late and then it's a bit iffy when it's here, then this is probably a little bit early. And without knowing the future, I can't know whether this is the right time to plant my bulbs or not. So I've decided I'm just going to give it a go. We're just going to plant them, but I am going to mulch them quite heavily with the cardboard, torn up cardboard that you can see I've got here. So I'm going to mulch them quite heavily, and I'm also going to kind of keep it in my mind that, you know, if this doesn't work, then maybe next time I need to plant my bulbs a little bit later in the year.
Now, the things that I have here, my spring bulbs that I'm planting, are many and varied. I have regular hyacinths, which are the Hispanic kind. Let me just show you those. And then muscari, which is a grape hyacinth. I've got lots of tulips. I'm a little bit tulip mad this year. So I've got a triumph tulip called Purple Prince. I've got a mixed bag of triumphs. And I've got some small, wilder species tulips, which are really exciting. I've never grown a species tulip before. The last thing I have is a mixed bag of daffodils. It's just 5 of them. And they're something that I really treasure. I love daffodils. I think they're delightful. And I kind of regret not getting more of them. But we'll plant these and we'll see how they go. The first thing I'm starting with down here is my Purple Prince tulip. Now, I am a little bit worried for my tulips because tulips are really attractive to voles and to mice. So they dig them up and they eat the bulb, which we do have a vole problem, and I've definitely seen little mice running around down here. So I know for sure that we have 2 of the peak predators for tulips, but I love them, so I'm going to give them a go. The thing that I'm going to do in order to kind of make it that I can monitor what's going on with my tulips is I'm going to make more of these. These are little markers, and I'm going to pop my little label, which is just a stick that I've shaved the edge off. I'm going to pop a little marker where I place each of my things so that I know where I'm expecting them to come up, and if they all get eaten, well then I'll know at least that they've been eaten, but this way I can keep track of them a bit better. That's that full trowel depth, so that's the whole, it's actually more like 12 centimeters, and then I'll put mulch on top. So in he goes, right down deep, pointy end up, and the little crown plate at the bottom, it's where the roots will grow from, pointy end up, in the bottom of that hole, and then fill him back in, all the way in there, put all of that in there, and then my little marker, that's where my Purple Prince is, goes in there like that. And then once I've done all of these all over the garden, I'm going to water them just to kind of get the bulbs going. But the companions I'm going to put in down here to my Purple Prince in amongst, this is my Tuscan kale that I grow in the borders, and I've got some sage down here. So in amongst this kind of little jumbly area, I'm also going to pop some of my muscari or grape hyacinths in there, and I think that'll make a lovely little combo in amongst all of the other things going on down here. I think maybe 3. I think 3 is a good number. Now, the hyacinths grow a lot more shallowly. You can see they're a much littler bulb, so you probably only want to put them in maybe 8 centimeters down, so a little bit closer to the surface. The same idea applies though. Pointy end up, plate down, 3 times its depth. And then I've got quite a lot of these to do all over the place. And the idea that I'm doing with these is little clusters of spring bulbs. So I'll do a little bunch of them here, a little bunch of them over there, so that we have little pops of colour in the garden come spring. I'm just giving these little tulips a quick water in, and the hyacinth. But I think that's about all we've got time for. I'm not actually finished. I've still got plenty of bulbs left to plant, but I think that's about it for today. I am enjoying, though, having these jobs which you kind of enjoy the doing, and the fact that they're not all over and done so quickly is kind of the pleasure. They're going on and you're just enjoying the slowness and the process. I hope you find some time this week to enjoy a nice, slow process. If you like what we're doing, please like the video. If you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe and use the bell icon if you want notifications. And until next time, do widzenia.